Welcome back to the Real and Bold Show, where we're always having real and bold conversations, aka the RB Show. I know. You love it. I love it too. But check this out. Look, I am really excited for this episode because I have a celebrity sitting right next to me. I mean, look, y'all know her, y'all love her, y'all follow her. She is my business partner. She is my great friend. You may know her as Miss BR Talk. You may know her as Big Money Mommy.
Oh,
You know.
Lord. Look, I thought you were gonna put down my headache, and
No. If you
never.
were, then I would tell you that you were a headache. But look, we have Maameefua Koomson here sitting with us in the studio. Everybody give a round of applause. How you doing today?
I'm doing better
You're doing better.
now that I'm here. Yeah.
That you're here. Tell me why you what was holding you back today?
Oh, it was hot today.
Uh-huh. Which is hot. It'll do it to
The sun be draining my energy,
you. Mm.
and I was outside for most of today.
You know, I always tell my friends who are, officers, crime rise in the heat because people just be tired
And the angry.
and be
'Cause
angry.
I was upset in the car. That's when you called. I said, I hope Roland don't call me right now, because I'm not in the good mood. But you called me right when I was pulling up, and I was like, "Get your mind right. You good."
There
The
we go.
heat, the heat, the heat make you angry. I'm not gonna lie.
It does. It does. It
Mhm.
makes clients angry too. But we're gonna get into that. We're gonna
Say
get into that. But one thing that I didn't really, talk about is you, the owner of Qurikecreative.
Mm-hmm.
But people normally only see you as either Miss BR Talk or the owner of Qurikecreative. But you're more than that, right?
Yeah, I feel like I got a lot of, I don't want to say different lives because I'm currently living them all simultaneously, but they're definitely in their own categories. Like sometimes they don't overlap as much as I would like. It's not fluid yet.
So why is it keeping you from overlapping?
I'm not sure. I think that's what I was trying to figure out in the past year. Like, because a lot of times, what was it? I think I had somebody introduced me once, and they're just like, "Oh, that's the foodie," and everyone else got all this the grand like, "Oh, started this business, did that, did this and that. Oh, and then we got the TikTok foodie." And I was like, "It's like I do more than just eat online, like what?" And then on top of the fact, you know that my business has been, I mean, you've been knowing me before I even started doing the food content. So I just felt like, okay, people don't know my business side. Part of that probably because I posting on there, not really, but I was working, you know? That's why I wasn't posting, I was working. So, the past year, I was like, "Okay, Imma be more intentional with, like, this is my business, this is what I do, and then I also have my food." Like, to me, the business is full-time. Oh, my apologies. To me, the business is full-time, and the food stuff is like my side gig. Like, I just want people to see it the way I'm seeing it. The same way people have their 9 to 5 they go to, and then they do their content after. I'm literally doing the same thing. Like, cause content creation isn't my full-time stream of income yet.
There we go. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of people think that content creation is your full stream.
And I'm glad they believe that. I would love for that to be the case, but it's not to pay the bills, or maybe my lifestyle's a little too high. I don't know. It's one of the 2.
You know, I just think it's a little bit of everything. So, because even now, like people call you a foodie, but you really don't post as much food content like you used to.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Like
I feel like that too. You know who else just said that? Ashley told me that, because they were like, "Oh, well, I'll tell you the details later." But I won't say too much. But they were just like, "Oh, she's just a foodie," and she was like, "It's not just a foodie," because I really haven't been posting food as much, just because when I started my health journey, I was like, okay, well, I have to literally cut out. I mean, that was the biggest thing. I was like, clearly, I don't cook at home. Um, so where am I getting my nutrition from? All these restaurants and bars and DoorDash. Shout out to DoorDash. Whenever they decide, I have a Dash Pass and everything. That is how much I was eating out. I was eating out so much. Um, so yeah, to me, I just feel like I'm a lifestyle creator, entrepreneur. That's kind of the image I'm really working towards, like, solidifying, and that was, like, my plan when I went into 2024. I was like, That's my focus.
So how did it feel, being in that lane, but like the other day, you were introduced as a fitness influencer?
I know. Now that threw me off guard because I was just like, I almost looked around like, who are they talking about? But your girl do be in the gym. I be in the gym. Be in the gym, a couple days a week.
So the biggest thing that I'm hearing so much is that you're a multi-dimensional person.
Yes.
And so one of the reasons why I wanted to start this show was because a lot of people are very diverse. They're multidimensional. A lot of times people box us in of what we can do and who we are. And we don't get to marry that part of everything. Like I said, I know you before. I remember you when you were in what was that?
You talking about the photo walk?
No, not even a photo walk. When
Oh.
you were in student housing.
Oh yeah. I was a bad leasing manager. I handled those leases. I sure did. I used to lease apartments.
And so, people don't know that. People always just
Yeah.
see, um, let's even put it this way. A lot of people always see where you at and don't know where you came from and where you did to get here.
Mhm.
The hardships of being a creative,
Mhm.
the hardships of being an entrepreneur, the hardships of
Mhm.
navigating culture, and even navigating your faith that people don't know about either.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one definitely is a private, and I don't know why I don't share. Maybe because it's still a little scary to me.
Let's talk about it. Why did it a little scary?
I knew you was going because it's just I don't know. It's like when it comes to my faith, it's still me battling my younger self and just I think as an adult I realized like my faith was more so just what I was told. But even through hardships, I never lost that. I was like, okay, clearly like God is real. He's doing this. He's allowed me to still do all these things, even though on paper I probably would be like, there's no way that could have happened. Because I need to do this I might post it today. I was giving an example of a content calendar to someone. I was like, when you're introducing yourself or telling how you got started, like get real. Don't just say like, "Oh, I needed this," or "I was dealing with financial hardships." And so I gave her an example of my bank statement, like an email I got from Chase in 2021. My account was in overdraft. Mind you, I got those like a couple times a month, but this one was $700 in overdraft. Like that is how deep of a hole I was laying. Like you had debt, and then even my checking account, there was no clearing anything. I was door dashing overnight, and then bartending, and then Instacart during the day. And I'm doing all of that, and there used to be days I'm like, "I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent. I don't know how I'm gonna pay this energy bill, the water," but, I mean, quite literally never missed a payment. Like, it always ended up working out, so even though I was not actively in church and stuff at the time, I still was like, "Okay, clearly God's looking out for me," and so it's hard to talk about because it's just things I need to unlearn and think that balance between faith and then how church says you're supposed to do stuff or how you're supposed to present yourself as a Christian or whatever. It's very I just don't really know what is considered the right way or not. Or me just listening to like, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to be," or "You're a bad person," or this, and that. So it's still confusing to navigate for me.
No, that's completely understandable. It's a lot of conversations I have, basically the difference between religion versus relationship. And
Mhm.
so, matter of fact, a couple of my friends, we've been having this conversation of like, especially a lot of my friends are PKs. They're preachers' kids. They grew up in
Yeah,
the church. They were drugged in the church. They was in the church
me
Monday
too.
through Sunday.
I would say I was a peak mom. My mom, she liked to think she was a preacher.
So, so I mean,
So yeah,
you've been in
pretty
that
much.
battle,
Yeah,
especially
seriously.
when,
Yeah.
growing up and that you're under a microscope. And
Mhm.
so you're not allowed space and grace to make mistakes, to learn who you are. And so for a lot of us, we were like saying, like, hey, when did we actually start having our own relationship
Mhm.
um, with God? Like, we had the relationship that was taught to us, the relationship they told us, you do this, you do
Mhm.
that. But when did I start like seeking God for myself and actually having authentic and transparent conversations with myself? And then once you start doing that, then you start unlearning a lot of things. And you
Mhm.
start like, oh, well, I got this trauma and I got this. And
Mhm.
well, the church says this, but the Bible says this and my relationship. And you just start to learn a lot. And now it's always almost being taboo to say, hey, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like it's either I'm in the streets, and we're gonna be proud about that, and it's okay. You're gonna finally get there,
Yeah,
or I'm
yeah.
like all in the church and everything else.
Yeah, and, and I think that's probably what I think that's the biggest thing. Cause even, I told you I've been, trying to dabble, going to church here and there, maybe once a quarter. Imma try. I'm trying to find that church, and I feel like even when they do their, like, call to the altar, it's like, "Oh, I did this growing up. I didn't know God. I did this and that." And I'm like, "Well, no, I was in the church growing up." And then the people who grew up in the church are still very much heavily in it, whereas I guess I strayed away, so it's kinda like I don't really connect with it
And
right now. Like, it's not clicking just yet
and
for
so
me.
that's the gap, especially even in the show that a lot of people have fallen into, and we miss the bulk of people. It's easy to identify somebody that's never been around or never experienced Christ, and then people
Mhm,
that's been in the church um all their lives, but then the people that's like, well, this and that is not matching up,
mhm,
you know, in that sense. And so where do we allow the space and the grace and a church to be a safe space and a place to be a safe space for people to figure it out, for people to learn? Because I always say there was only one perfect person that was ever walked this earth and will always walk this earth.
mm,
So that should take a lot of pressure off a lot of people, because I had to unlearn a lot of stuff because it inhibited my it inhibit my relationship with Christ because I felt like I had to be perfect. I felt like I couldn't make any mistakes. Whereas as we grow and we do things that God has positioned us to be in, is actually designed for us to fail so we can learn in different
mhm,
things. So you can't be
mhm,
afraid to fail and move forward from that. Um,
mhm.
but
That was
it,
good.
you know, it,
That's
it
true,
it's
that's
it's it's a
true.
lot because I can go a lot of ways because, I'm the I'm the disruptor. I like to go against the grain.
I know. You
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 know,
caught me off guard. I'll give you know what? I'll give you that. You probably the first person I had met, and I was like, "Okay, I guess he's not too bad." Because I was expecting the usual, like, judgment and stuff that, like, "Oh, you were in church, and then you turned away." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't know all the people in the church that's supposed to be supporting you, it's like they hurt you or they went about this thing." And at the time, it just was hard to, like, understand why are these people doing this or acting like this. But now that I'm older, I'm like, "Oh, obviously we're all human." And my mom would say that too, but at the time I was like, "I don't wanna hear all of that. You're such great church and stuff, did this and that, or talked about my brother or did all this." And it's like, they just didn't care. And that it just pissed me off a lot. But I'm like, "Okay, you know what? They're just normal human beings too." Like, I think that was the problem. It was kinda putting those people who are in, like, higher up in the church, like, on a pedestal without even realizing it. And so, yeah, that's where I was like, "Okay, I need to unlearn all of this stuff." But I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think that. I thought, like, "Oh, maybe this isn't for me. Like, I don't maybe this isn't my faith or whatever." But going through that really hard part of just, like, it's like a testimony for my business, but it really was for my faith too, because I was like, "Oh," even though I was turning away, I was very, like, against. I didn't want no one come in and tell me about no God, nothing. I didn't wanna hear it. I was very angry and still was provided and blessed. And that's when I think I was like, "Oh, this is our one-on-one." Like, that was the first time. So that might have been around COVID. So it hasn't been that long to say, like, if growing up in church and it's just clicked in mid-20s where I'm like, "Oh, it's me and you, not me, you, and then my mom, my dad, my church, this, all these other people." So, but I'm still figuring it out.
and that's fine, and we're going to continue to provide the space and walk it together because that's what community's for.
Mhm,
It's always saddening to me, and that's why I'm very adamant with people in the church who's been in the church, and I'm putting air quotes because we are the church, and a lot of times just people just do a checkbox and they don't
mhm,
show any fruits of the spirit. You've been in the church, but you're mean, you have no grace, there's no transformation in your life. And so you cause other people to fall and stumble. But because you're in the church or you're doing this or you have these gifts and you don't focus on Christ, you focus on gifts and you don't focus on a relationship, it hurts. And on top of that, one thing I always get flack for, because when it comes to like a lot of stuff with church hurt, um, I often say that a lot of it is our fault.
Mm.
And the reason is because we literally do not ask God what church we're supposed to be at, when, how long, and what we're supposed to be doing. So a lot of times we're going in places that we were never graced to be in. And so now we put ourselves in harm for those people who weren't even graced to help us.
Mm.
Now, that's not to say there's a lot of people that are in the church that literally do not do right by people. And we're all human, and they got to answer on that. But I think if a lot of people took a step back and did, I have a transparent conversation with God and said, well, God, I've been here for X amount of time. Is this a place you still want me to be at? And if not, where?
Mm.
And when I get there, what do you want me to do? How long you want me to do it? When you want me to do it? And so now I know that when God is leading me in that place, that He's graced me and He's going to empower me to do what I need to do, instead of me doing it on my own. And so now when I'm doing it on my own, people are going to get hurt. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to get this last point on and we're going to shift.
Oh, I'm marinating on that because I never
Because,
thought to ask that. Like, I'm gonna have to pray
so
about that.
for example, me being a PK, being around pastors all my life, bishops, apostles, there's a lot of pastors who pastor outside their grace. Some people box God in, and so they box themselves in. But there's a lot of pastors that I've talked to, and I've like, have you asked God how long you're supposed to pastor? Are you supposed to be pastoring? What are you supposed to be doing afterwards? But a lot of times they get in a position that they don't nurture the gifts outside of pastoring, so they can't stop pastoring because that's what provides.
Mm.
But
Ooh.
I'm gonna get
We're gonna
some
talk about
calls.
that. I like that though. It makes
We're gonna get some
sense.
emails.
But it makes sense. I mean, if you put it in the same space as like any career, really, it's a fine line too.
There's a fine line because
It's a career. You saying for the career or saying because it's supposed to be your, you know?
right, because ministry is way more than just getting on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
There's real ministry is outside of the four walls of the church. That's where we come to get equipped, worship God, and then go out and be in culture, in that sense. But unless there's something else, I'm gonna pivot a little bit
Let's
because
pivot.
I wanna go a little bit more before you got into, um, you know, being into content creation, because it kind of like you just started and it kind of like blew up. But what was your plans beforehand?
Oh yes. Let me tell you about my career plans, y'all. Okay. So my plan, well, my first plan, my parent. Well, no, let me back it up even further. So my parents are from Ghana. So I'm a first generation American college student, the oldest daughter, all the things. That's why I had a lot to go through with my mental. But if you got three career options. You could be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be an engineer. I wasn't about to do none. Well, no, I said I'll be a doctor. I was like, I'm gonna be an ER. I'm gonna work in the ER because I used to watch that show that was on the dramatized
Uh,
ER episodes. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. And got to middle school and I was like, I can barely spell biology. I was not interested in nothing with the sciences. But in my head, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I said, I'm gonna be a doctor. And if y'all from everybody took the LEAP test and stuff. So I took it in 8th grade. Did you take the right? You had to do the writing portion?
yeah, I had to do the writing
Okay.
portion.
See, I don't know if they do that nowadays, but we're not gonna talk about the new kids. So I took the writing portion and almost scored a perfect on it. I remember the office called me in and was just like, "Oh, you did really good." And these programs were like Center for the Youth, like you can go to a writing camp. And I was just like, okay, like I guess. But it looked interesting. And I also wanted, not spending the summer at my parents' house was really nice. Yeah, I love my parents, I do. But I was very, very, very sheltered home in school. Like that was it for 17 years. So it's like I wanted to get out, but so it was the John Hopkins Center for Talented Youth, and I went to Santa Cruz, California for 3 weeks by myself and completely just changed how I viewed everything. I didn't even think of writing as a career or anything like that, but I was a big book person I used to be the top 3 every year, AR points, all of that, and I loved reading. It was like a good escapism for me. Between that and anime, that was like my 2 that I would always go back and forth with. So after I did writing, I was like, "Oh, well, I wanna do this." So my plan was to go through, get my creative writing degree, go get my master in fine arts, and then be, an educator on the college level. No kids. On the college level, I
Mhm.
wanted to do workshops and all the things and go to the cabin and write novels and just go on about my day. So that was my plan, and I really did stick with it. I ended up going to another writing camp in high school, and I went to Ohio for that one. That one was really fun too, real in the middle of nowhere. You'd be proud of me because you know how I feel about outside.
Yes.
So I was outside in the woods writing all the things. Went to LSU, did creative writing, stuck with it. LSU was, like, great. I loved all 4 years. It was so eye-opening. It felt like a new city to me because, again, I went to home and school. That was pretty much it. And then my job when I was cashier. But it wasn't till right at the last I'm talking about last semester. I'm applying to the fine arts, and I think I had a bit of imposter syndrome because the MFA programs, they only accepted a handful of people a year. Like, I'm talking maybe 5 or less, depending on which program, and I also was just a little burnt out. So at the last minute, I pulled all of my applications out and I was like, I'm gonna just work. And I was a part-time leasing agent at the time. That's how I ended up, well, I'm free now. So I got promoted to leasing manager. And that's when I thought I was gonna go to my pipeline and just do sales and leasing and stuff. And but in the back of my head, I was like, I'm gonna get back to writing eventually. But that was the year that made me realize, like, okay, everything I planned is just out the window. So that might have been what 2019 is when I graduated. So I was like, well, I'm gonna just go with the flow. I'm gonna just go with the flow and figure it out. And through leasing at that conference is when the guy from Beats Headphone was talking, and I was like, I can't believe people get paid to be creative and post on social media. I've been posting my whole life because I have always been on social media, and I did it for fun. I used to run a fan page in middle school. We ran one on Twitter for fun, Tumblr. Then I got to high school, ran the club social medias, got to college, was running my sorority's social media. I never thought about it as a career, so I was a little, I don't wanna say overconfident. I knew what I could do,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh, Imma just apply to these jobs." No, why no one wanted to hire me, Roland? Not one person.
Not one.
Not no one in Baton Rouge. Nobody. Nobody out of the state. I was like, they would just say I wasn't qualified. I was like, "Dang, this sucks." And so that's why I thought I was gonna stay in housing and maybe work my way through the social media because I was doing social media there. But, come in 2020, good old that was a transformative year, both good and bad ways, But that's when I was like, "You know what? Imma just do this myself." And I quit my job, my good paying, stable job, because I just was so confident I can go get my MBA and freelance for a few months, and Imma be able to get a job. That's what I thought. That is not what happened, and that's how we went from 2020 going into 2021 and all the overdrafts and stuff, and I was like, "Okay, well, if you already quit the job," and obviously during COVID, a lot of people needed a job, so it wasn't like I could hop back into it. Luckily, I picked up a few little side jobs here and there, but yeah, that's kinda how it's been full circle. So ever since I didn't go my traditional route of going and being a professor, I've been kinda let go and let God, Imma be honest. Like, I was like, I literally don't know what I'm gonna do in the next year or in the next month or really in the next day. So, yeah, that's why I always tell people I never planned on being an influencer or honestly even starting a business. I was freelancing to get experience to go back to corporate because I wanted to be a corporate baddie. That was my second life plan I thought I was gonna do.
So real
Mhm.
quick, because we did talk about, your love for anime and how that helped raise you. What's your top 3?
My top
Your
3?
top 3, real quick. Bang, bang, bang.
Okay. My top 3, no order though. I need
Okay,
to think about
okay.
this a little bit more. See, well, I like a lot of different genres though.
I mean, no order, just, well, I'll give you my top
Well,
3.
Attack on Titan is definitely in the top 3. I
Okay.
don't care. I don't care what nobody say because if you've I've been watching anime since middle school, so you have to realize how much is evolved from storyline. Of course, animation gets better, but you used to be able to know how to guess every single trope because you could see the sign. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you would know. So Attack on Titan was probably the first anime that just completely threw me in for a loop. Something where you could rewatch it and see something new every single time or a different theory. So that's definitely in the top 3. The other 2, I would say Code Geass.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, that one that one
Okay.
that one shook me up too
That's a good one.
when
Okay.
I was a kid. And then a third one, hmm, it's one I just watched. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably like a romance or something because I'm a love girl at heart. I
Okay.
love all the things. So I'm trying to think which one that would be. It's a romance. I don't
Okay.
want to say.
Okay.
It's cute though.
Okay.
It's such a cute one.
So my thing is, I would do an honorable mention.
Okay.
It's one of the big 3.
Naruto.
No, actually. No. Which
Naruto
is
would be in my honorable mention.
yeah, I understand that. It would actually be Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
that's
Yep.
because that was one of the originals that really got me into anime way back
That's
then
true.
that I
You
had
ever played the
access to.
games?
Huh? Oh, yeah,
PlayStation 2, me and my brother used to be with Piccolo. You
yeah.
had to keep him in place. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I haven't
good.
played a game in a while after my best friend shark baited me into a game and basically like let me win a few, and then he literally would not he turned me every way but loose on the game. I
Lord,
had played this
no,
and I was
Roland.
hot at him for about a good two weeks. I'm like, we not doing
This
this no
happened as
more.
an adult?
This is yes. This is
Oh, so
we still
your pride
play.
was hurt.
Yeah, my pride was hurt. Like I wanted to fight him for real. Like, but I would have to say Yu Yu Hakusho.
I
You
don't
know,
think I've watched that one.
we gonna talk.
Okay.
We gonna talk.
Okay.
I would say Hunter x Hunter
Dang. I ain't gonna lie.
because Hunter x
Good
Hunter
ones.
was, even though it was one of the older ones,
That one's good.
you could not guess. They would kill off people.
Sure
There was all
would.
kinds of stuff happening. You just like, you know what?
I know. And you know what? The arc, the Chimera Ant arc it's low key kind of symbolic too.
I literally just went back and watched it like this last
That
2
was a good
months,
arc. That was a really good
and
arc.
then I would have to say for one that's like now, I was gonna say Jujutsu Kaisen, but I'm gonna go with Demon Slayer. I'm gonna go with Demon
Okay,
Slayer.
good. I'm trying to get somebody to watch it. She's like against it.
I love it.
You know the movie's coming out on my birthday,
Oh, really?
September 12th.
So we going. So we
Not to
going.
the mall though,
No.
because they don't have no reclining seats. That is just absurd
Who
to me.
goes to the mall?
Like,
I always go to Perkins Regular.
I mean, same, but I'm just saying.
You know.
Sometimes the times
Well, I
at
guess
the
for
mall be
IMAX,
better,
if they
but
have it in IMAX, but
IMAX, GMAX, it don't matter. They
it's
don't have
gonna.
reclined seats,
Yeah,
and it's very ghetto.
it's gonna.
Then the teenagers be there.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. So
Sorry.
so we've known each other for a while.
Oh, how many years now? Because every time I'm always like, oh, like I've known her for a couple years, but I was like, dang,
It's
that's
more
been a
than
while.
it's been a while. Like
Oh,
I was trying to even remember like how we got together. Like I think our first like project was when LeBurge, like you were having an influencer event and you invited
mhm.
me along, and I don't even know how we got there.
But that was even years in.
Yeah, like I don't even know how we got there in that sense.
You
But
probably offered.
I probably did because I
I
was trying to like
know.
look. Let me tell y'all something real quick. Let me tell y'all something real quick. The reason why my TikTok been popping and I've been growing on TikTok is her.
Thank you.
She is a strategist for a reason. This is why, you have Qurikecreative where she runs these social media platforms. Not only that she runs them, she grows these platforms. Like she will say, look, this one right here, oh, this one's gonna pop. This one's gonna blow up. This is gonna do this. And she gave me a simple strategy. If you do X, Y, and Z rolling and you stay consistent, it will grow. And it's been growing
You're
ever.
doing a good job.
I appreciate it.
You've been doing a good job.
I appreciate it. So that's why we gotta, because y'all don't know, like she offer a lot more stuff with Qurikecreative, with audits and stuff. Like let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about what you want to promote now outside of being an influencer.
Huh, that's a good question. I had a meeting with my business coach today, actually. And so Quirky Creative is just like that's truly like my heart because even though I know I do a good job being online, I am truly a behind the scenes person. I know. Oh, you're trying to be humble. I'm not. Like it's a fact. I used to always say the people who need to know me, and I'll make my money and go on about my day. I don't want to be known or fame. I used to say that all the time. So it's kind of ironic that I have that personal brand now. But with Quirky Creative, I used to just love being able to like, okay, let me learn why you love your business or brand or why you're passionate about it. Like I like working with other passionate people. And I don't think it was solely within just social media. I think that was always my trend. Like I just was always gravitated to people who were, okay, if I'm passionate about this hobby, then I'm like, all right, let's do it, or if let me support you. I don't know, I just like that type of energy. So seeing it through entrepreneurship, of course, a lot of business owners are giving their all, and that is their I'm trying my best. I really want to be able to get this out there, but social media is just not their thing. And so, um, my most popular service is my like full service all in. I basically come in as like your social media manager team in house. So it gives you like an in house feel, but with agency level work and results and things of that nature. And so, all of those full service ones that starts from strategy all the way up to just if it's getting the content, editing it, posting it, managing it, all of that together. So I always say I can be as little or as much as involved as you would like me. So there's some people where I can just give strategy and you take it away. Like what you're doing. I'm just like, hey Roland, you should probably be doing all of these things or that nature. And then I have people who are like, I literally don't want to have to open my app. And that's always the best compliment to me when people are like, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't logged in. And they tell their friends this and they're thinking, oh, well, you commented on my stuff. No, that was me. It was me. I will sit there and pay attention to like, oh, do they put a space in between their commas? Do they use this emoji a lot? So that it's very seamless because it's not about, oh, I want to come in and flex and say that I'm your social media manager. I want it to be very subtle and just they wake up and think like, man, you were really going all in with socials, even if they did hire someone in. That is like the quality of work I want to do. And then of course the actual results. It's always good when you have a viral moment or the views pop or things of that nature. But yeah, with Quirky Creative right now, I really am at my max. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
she saw she booked and bitch.
I am, and it's a blessing. It is truly it really is a blessing. And so I was gonna follow up with inquiries and kind of be like, hey, if you're looking at these type of services, nothing might really open up till Q4. But I have been doing a lot of audits lately. So, me and Ashley, we co-founded a branding catalyst. So that's our brand for helping like female entrepreneurs with just guidance, not only on socials, but actual branding. And so as Quirky Creative has evolved, I started off doing everything because I started off doing photography. I used to do like graduation shoots and food here and there. Maybe that might have been how we met,
That's
just somewhere.
yeah.
Now I can do it. I just don't do I love it? Not really. And so my business has definitely reached, I think last year I reached that point where I was like, you know what? I'm ready to delegate that side because I realized the strategy, like the brain part of social media is where I get the most excited about. I stay up. There's a lot of work I do silently. And I think that's what I would want to promote because of course I still have audits and all these other plans that are available, but there's so much that I do that's quiet and I don't really you can't really promote it unless y'all want to watch a time lapse of me at 3 a.m. trying to like compare comps and this and looking at this or slightly tweaking something a little bit. Like all of that matters to me. Um, and that's where it's really awesome how my creative writing background came into it because at first I was worried like, oh, you abandoned this thing that freed you and opened your mind and allowed you to escape. But there's a lot of storytelling or things I learned from writing short stories that I translate into social media. It's just digital now, if that makes sense.
No, that makes plenty of sense. Is
Yeah.
there let's talk about the little things that, so you're booked, you're busy, full
Mhm.
service, may not open up to Q4,
Yeah, it's
you
makes
know,
no sense.
but, or 2026,
Yeah.
God's good. But
Amen. All the time.
but
Yes,
what
yes,
are some
yes.
like, little small services or things that people can kind of look into, whether
Mhm.
it's a startup, maybe it's a personal, maybe like, hey, I just want to know what is if what an audit can do for me, what
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
um,
Mhm. I would say an audit is a good s m I hate to say small. It is smaller in scale compared to, like, me coming in and doing everything, but an audit's such a good way to get a fresh perspective on something. Um, Especially when you're just so in your head or you're not sure what to click or where to go from. And so a lot of the audits, there's different versions. There's some that are maybe simple, like, hey, I don't know. I feel like I probably did something simple like that, like, oh, you should make sure your cover photos are like that. Like that's something you can look at quickly versus, okay, here's a deeper audit. I realized you're the only one in this lane that does this type of cinematography. Like, you should lean more into that. And yes, do a few trends here and there, but really build up your signature look so that when you do go viral, you're not just another, oh, that was a funny video I saw on TikTok. Now you're, oh, yeah, because he always says it then, he does his little thing. Like they remember you when you have your viral moment because maybe they followed and then all your old content comes in. So the audits definitely can get super detailed. The most recent one I did, I'm still trying to figure out names for them because I've been doing a lot of audits lately and I've been doing different versions of them. But the most recent one I did was, it was almost like a, if you hired me, this is how I would have done it. And it was super, super detailed. And I was like, this is how my brain works when I'm building out somebody's content. This is this type of content you need to do. It's not going to go viral. So please do not delete it. It might not have high views, but I'm telling you, it's going to help. Like every
Right.
ingredient matters. Like if you're making gumbo or something, you can't skip something just because it seems minute. It's the same thing with social media. There's those small little posts that you do, and but I say small, but they might not seem major, but it really does help embody that whole look of like, oh, okay, I need to make sure I do that. So that audit I did recently, I was super detailed, and that's where I gave her the example of, I want you to introduce yourself, but not just, hey guys, my name's Maameefua, I'm 27, I'm from the, like, nobody cares.
They
Like,
don't.
they care, but they don't.
Don't. Yeah.
Because social media, I view social media as a selfish place, and I never mean that negatively. It's literally, ask yourself, if you went opened up Instagram today, did you go on there thinking, let me go see, let me see how I can serve someone else? No, you're trying to see how to decompress or learn a recipe or be entertained because you had a bad day. We're opening the app to get something. So
Mhm.
I'm like, when you're making content, yes, it can make sure it aligns with you, but you have to realize too, those people are looking for something, and if you're not providing that value, then yeah, that's why sometimes it could be the best reel you've ever made, but did it provide some value to someone else? Then no.
I'm gonna have to bring you back on because there's so much. There's even more that I want to dive
I
into.
don't know. That part was for you.
And I appreciate it. And,
But you've been doing a good job.
look, I've been
You
listening.
have. You've
I've
been
been
doing good.
learning. Even today I'm glad you caught my rage bait on
Oh, no, no, because I was like, "This man is in the military. He knows how to say this word."
and
I
so
knew you knew how to say that word. As soon as I heard it, I was like, "Why did he say that?" And then I was like, "Oh, 10 out of 10 rage bait."
and it worked, guys.
It sure
It
did.
worked.
They were upset.
They're eating it up. The algorithm, the views are going up.
They're eating it
Um,
up.
but last thing, before we
Last.
got yes, last thing before we get out of here, I want to encourage more creatives, and entrepreneurs who are tied in their faith,
Mhm.
to pop this stuff a little bit. Like, like you've been, graced to do this, but like, what do you want to like, hey, I people to know that like, no, I do this. Like, I got this. Like,
Mm, I don't know.
we can talk about crafting nibbles. Just something like just
Oh,
even
yeah,
that.
you know what? That Crafting Nibbles is a good one. So, Crafting Nibbles, for people that don't know, they're a build your own charcuterie cheese box bar on Perkins. They opened in December of 2024. And so I've always known that I could do these things. So that they're not the first page. They have like 22,000 followers now. When I started with them, they had maybe 4,000. Like, they had a good bit. It wasn't like they were starting at 0, but, I mean, it's jumped a lot to say that I didn't start posting for them until September, so it hasn't even been a year yet. But I've grown other pages where it's like there's a lactician, Sweet Society was also a big one that I helped grow, but with Crafted Nibbles, I'll never forget they submitted the inquiry, we had the Zoom call, and she's explaining the concept. At the time, they were just at home and catering, that's it. They didn't have this concept was not out yet, and I remember them telling me about it and just saying like, "Hey, like, this is what we wanna do. We wanna make sure it's done right. We wanna make sure people come and do it," because it's definitely a more of a, I don't wanna say luxury, but it's definitely not like, "Oh, I'm going here to get my paper towels or something." It's charcuterie is a very niche thing. It's not a budget cheap thing, you're right, you know? And so I remember sitting there hearing it, and I'm like, "No." I know this business is gonna pop off for y'all, and I don't know what to call that. Maybe that is like the gift God has given me and stuff to where they're passionate about what they do. I'm passionate about what I do, and I always call myself. You say you're the disruptor. I like to call myself the amplifier because it's not magic. I can't just come in and okay, boom, you going viral. You have to already have certain pieces. And so Craft and Nibbles, they already had their branding. They knew their audience clearly, the voice they wanted, the impact they wanted to make. They were very clear in all that. And I was like, okay, you've given me the ingredients. Now I'm really about to cook. Like I'm about to really get this to I'm about to cook. Like I was so excited after that call. And I don't know if it was immediately after or later on, I pulled you in and I was like, what did you say? I was like, this is gonna work. Like this is going to work. They are gonna pop off. I just need to get through this
Look,
campaign.
and that's when I lit my services. If you say it's gonna pop off, then it's gonna
Yeah.
pop
It
off,
was
and then I'm gonna do whatever in my power to help you.
we
And
went all in.
we went all
That
in.
was a good and that was you know what? They were my first and when I say campaign, like a short-term
Mhm.
client, like, "Oh, come in, help with the grand opening." So it's like a 3-month thing, and then I'll just mosey on my way. They were my first ever, and I told them that I was like, "Look, I've never done this before. I've also never really done this specific type of industry, but if you trust me, I promise you, I'm gonna deliver." And they were like, "Okay, let's do it." And so
And that really solidified our partnership and
it
everything else.
did.
Speaking
It
of
did.
popping off, though, Journeywell Studios is popping off right now, and you could be here filming your own podcast episode. You could be filming your own
Mhm.
content right now because they've been gracious to sponsor this episode. So, look, you need to go to journeywell.io, fill out a form, come take a tour. Tell them that Roland sent you, the R&B show sent you. Look, they're going to take care of you because they take care of me. So look, don't play yourself. Don't play yourself. Come to
Mhm.
Journeywell Studios and have your content created, okay? But look,
Me
I
too.
thank you
I know,
for
I don't
having
wanna go. It really is a
look,
nice space.
it
I walked in like, "Oh, this is nice."
this is nice. This is
Like,
nice.
and I'm the queen of convenience, okay? When it comes to I just wanna show up,
Mhm.
and then I show out, and then I can go home. That's the energy I got walking out. I was like,
This
"Oh,
is
okay, let me just
this
fix
is
my
the
lip
place.
gloss
What do
and,
y'all say? Clock it? Like that what y'all say?
well, like, you too young to be You sounded like somebody grandpa, but yeah, I'm like, "No, but it's cute. I really like this." So, yeah, so we gonna talk
Oh
about
yeah,
doing my content here.
we're gonna get your content.
Y'all already get in before they're 2 booked.
Ooh, booked and busy.
I'm telling you.
Booked and busy. So yeah,
Mhm.
but thank you so much for coming on to the Real and
Thanks for
Bold Show.
having me.
Is there anything else you want anybody to know or anything else, you want to leave a lasting impression? No,
Normally I do, but for once, I'm like,
you're good. And we love that.
I hope there was too many gems and nuggets we dropped in this.
That's
So I
perfect.
hope y'all took your notes.
So
That's all
great.
I
So
can
look,
say.
thank y'all for joining this episode of the Real and Bold Show. Like always, like, comment, subscribe, because if I don't, you won't do it. And we can't be friends if you're not subscribed. So go ahead and click that button. And until next time, always remember, keep on rolling.
Oh, that's cute. Do 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 do. You got a little exit song outro?
I got to figure that out.
You ain't got no audio.
I need to see it first now.
This is the R&B Show.